I am so delighted to be here today at the Wanderlust Festival on the beautiful Sunshine Coast, and I really have the greatest of pleasure, and it is my honour to be interviewing today Swami Govindananda. Now, Swami Govindananda travels around the world to many of these Wanderlust festivals, bringing with him his spiritual teachings of yoga of the mind, the body and the soul. Now, Swamiji, as he's known, brings his spirituality, brings his talks and his amazing presence. So Swamiji, thank you very much. Not always being Swamiji. Who were you before Swamiji, and what was your life like before you became Swamiji?
Well, I grew up on the east coast of New Zealand in a place called Napier, and it's a beautiful environment, a bit like Noosa and so on, very sunny and nice beaches and so on. But as a young man, I felt that I needed to feel the rhythm of life. I wanted to feel the passion of life. Why am I here? Where have I come from? That might sound crazy, but as much as I love my mum and dad, I felt that there's more to me than just starting when I was born. And what happens after death? So I ended up crossing the ditch like all New Zealanders to Sydney, Australia. And in this house, it was an old governor's mansion in Randwick, Sydney. And here was a library, excuse me, of these wonderful, wonderful books like Yogananda Paramahansa, Ramakrishna Paramahansa. And when I started reading these books about the Indian mystics, the yogis, the sages, the rishis, the guru, I thought, oh, these blokes, they're actually talking about what I want to discover. So one thing led to another. I ended up going to India and studying with an extraordinary spiritual master in the last 5,000 years of Indian history. And he brought me in and said, live in the ashram, which was between Lucknow and Allahabad in rural India, and study. Learn the great philosophies, the Gita, the Ramayana, the Bhagavatam, learn meditation, the philosophies, stay here and grow. And so I did.
So how old were you when that happened?
Well, I just turned 22 when I met a visiting Swami through New Zealand, who, kind of like myself, was touring the world giving classes to introduce to his guru, who of course became my guru, Jagadguru Sri Kripalaji Maharaj. So 22 years of age is quite young, but it wasn't until 1982, about 7 years later, that I actually got to India. Even though I was fully on board from day one. I had things I had to do, I suppose, but when I got there in 82, that's when I was invited to live there.
Do you feel that you've reached a point where you know it all, or do you feel that you've still got lots to learn?
Well, you know, one of the reasons why I was attracted to my guru was because I had met all different kinds of teachers, and none of them felt deep enough. So I thought I would love to be in the company of a personality whom I could spend a life with and still feel I hadn't plummeted the depths. And so Sri Maharaji, as we call him, is such a towering personality. He fulfilled that wish of mine in that after over 40 years of his company, I still feel that there's so much more he could teach me. So I lived 4 years in India, full-time, studying Sanskrit and Hindi and music and philosophy and meditation and being in his company. At the end of the 4 years, I understood that actually I was just beginning. And you know, you learn what you teach. So dressed in these very colorful robes of a Swami, I set off into the West to start teaching the theory of what I had been taught. But the practical side, the experiential side, that was to follow. And it is following. And it's a wondrous journey. And I wouldn't swap it for anything.
How is it that you can bring that teaching to the Western world with all of our kind of ideas and, you know, the busy lives that we lead? How can you bring people into a much sort of calmer space to really get into their essence, into their source of who they are and what there is in this world? You know, there must be something more. So how do you help that process?
Well, you know, I have a lot of brother and sister Swamis who are Indian and they speak to the Indian community. But when I left India, I sort of made a deal with myself, if you can do such a thing. I thought, you know, I grew up with a rugby ball, the mighty All Blacks, etc. And I am of, you know, the South Pacific, Australasia. I understand the Americans, and I thought, well, why don't I take what I am to this community, and apart from dressing differently, share the knowledge in a language I think that they can relate to. And so there's not many airs and graces about myself. You know, I just want to be humorous, approachable, but very deep and profound at the same time. So hopefully, when people are in my company, they sense, look, this chap, I can come and talk to him, I can have a coffee with him. But when he gets going, when he starts digging deep into what he's really on about, I better sit up and I better pay attention, because this knowledge is so profound, so deep. So, in other words, in answer to your question, it's incremental, it's small steps. First, I give the proposition, the introduction. And then if people say, Swamiji, don't go away, tell me something more, then I do my best to be available. And, you know, within a couple of months of this filming, there'll be a new website, G Living, going up. And G, actually J-I, G Living. G is I respect you. I respect the divine energy that's within you, within me, your culture, your language, your creed, your age, your gender, doesn't matter. G Living, living with respect. So this website is very close to coming to fruition. And into this chalice, I have poured all the knowledge and the teachings that I learned and am learning from my guru in India. And you can come along and you can stream 7 steps to self-understanding. You can stream, it's about 40 talks actually, but it's step by step. And if this is what you want, if you really want to learn this pathway, hopefully you'll sit there and go, bring a cup of tea, love. I'm going to sit down and go through this.
I want some more now.
I want more. And then if you do that, I'll have webinars where you can tap in with me and talk about what you're learning, retreats that you can come and attend, go to India with myself. Many, many things are on offer if it appeals to you.
One of the things that you said earlier about the teachings of yoga, and one of the things that I picked up on was the karma yoga. Is there a particular project that you work on in India to help?
Big time, absolutely big time. The vision of Sri Maharaji, my guru, I never understood when I was with him. He pushed us hard to do karma yoga, to give of yourself. Now we have manifest 3 fully professional hospitals. I mean, if you put your mind on how would I start a hospital and who would I need and what equipment, your mind would burst. But he did it. And these hospitals are for the poor. There's no charge. Even your medicine. And he's got a hybrid of allopathy, which is Western medicine, then naturopathy, homeopathy, Ayurveda. Even the patients do yoga down the aisleways of the hospital beds. There's shiatsu meditation. And these are there's women's medicine, there's operations, it's just mind-boggling. So 3 fully funded hospitals, entirely free to the poor. And then girls' schools. 3 girls' schools. 3,000 students who come from mud houses with thatched roofs. They had to convince the parents, come. And they're taken right up to university level by the curriculum of the Indian government. And when I asked the administrator, because Sri Maharaji, again, this was his vision, you know, you step out of kind of like a bombed Beirut, you know, broken bricks and rubble, and you step into the school gates and there's green lawn and the beautiful uniforms. This is for the poor. Again, no cost. And when I asked the administrator, you know, it's great that you're educating them. And I said, why? What's the real heart of what you're doing? And she said, we want to empower these girls so that they know and have the ability to say no when something's going against them in their culture or the villages or whatever. So they have confidence that they can be themselves and express themselves. So they're empowering them Ah,
Beautiful. And this is done all through giving and serving.
yes. So what I do, of course, the highest charity is to help a person supernaturally in the sense that they understand about the soul, about the life and flow of birth and death, about the aim of life, the importance of consciousness and good diet, good movement. But spiritual knowledge can transform a person in a lifetime into an extraordinary individual of great beauty, depth and love. So that's the highest charity. But what we do is, of course, that is my number one aim as per my wishes of my guru. But any excess funds, yes, to the hospitals and schools you go. And it's more. Like recently about 15,000 widows in India. That you can't imagine how hard a life they have. We gave them something like 67 different items to every one of them, including a fridge and a TV, cooking pots, gas cooker, clothes. Sri Maharaji laughingly said, first I thought, I'll give them a pair of gloves because winter's coming. And then he thought, well, why stop at the gloves? I'll give them a coat. And then he thought, well, why stop at the coat? I'll give them socks. But then he said, I thought, well, they've got to have shoes. So I gave them shoes. Well, what about their head? So he gave them a hat. Well, what about a heater? So he gave them a heater. And you think money's flowing out of Maharaji? No, he looks at us and says, I've promised, I'm doing, now you make it happen. So that's this helping others.
Yes, it's the greatest gift, and of course that flows naturally then, the more that you give back. So tell me, Swamiji, what is the heart of your message to the people that are watching this now? What is that real core heart of what you're trying to achieve?
There are three great messages that I like to give, illusions if you like. One is we take that to be permanent, which is impermanent. That means we live here as if we'll always be here, but we won't, and we know that. We know that death's going to come. So just think about permanency and impermanency. Bring death into your life and understand it instead of being fearful of it, the great unknown. Make it part of your life so that as you live, so you'll die. Joyfully, I hope. Secondly, we think ourselves to be the body. This is my name, this is my gender, this is my nationality, this is my personality. But we are the Atma, the soul. This body's made of the 5 elements. And without the soul, our body is not conscious, it's not sentient, it's just dirt. And the soul will leave, and the body will atrophy and go back earth to earth, water to water, and so on. So that's the second great message. Understand that the energy that empowers the body, even your mind, this is the mystery of life. Understand that. And the third great thing I'd like to share, we look for happiness where it isn't. We look externally. We say, if I have that, I marry you, if I do this, if I out externally. Of course, there's great value, and we have to do these things. I'm not saying no. But looking for happiness where it's not actually means look for it where it is. And it's to do with the Atma. And the soul, the Atma, it's part of the Para Atma. Para means complete, the whole. Now, these are big concepts, right? But if people thought about these three things, taking that to be permanent, which is impermanent, thinking yourself to be the body when you are the soul, the Atma, and looking for happiness and love actually where it isn't. Learn to understand the mysteries of the nature of the soul and its relationship with this infinite space of which we are a part. And then the yogis, the rishis, the sages, the guru, the Gita, the Bhagavatam, the Veda, all of these extraordinary knowledges that come out of India. They'll say, are you ready to learn this? Oh yes, chalo, as they would say. Come on.
Chalo.
Yeah, which means, come on, let's go.
Right.
Let's learn it. And do you have to dress like me and have a grey beard? As beautiful as I may be. No. And why would you? Walking like a spiritual totem pole down the main street, where's your privacy? No. stay as you are, look after your family, pirouette, yoga, make movies, whatever. That's just action. Don't change that. Change internally.
Wow, that's an incredible amount of information for us to think about. And tell me something, if people want to find out more, I understand that you've got a new website that you're launching in a couple of months. Tell us about that.
Well, look, we are. I mean, if you come to the site, as promised, the heart of the site is 7 steps to self-understanding. So you can have it audio or video. If you do that, on each of those steps, which is about 6 programs, 6 talks, I'll run a webinar to talk about what you've been studying. There'll be meditation. There'll be little grabs of stories and so on, all to enthuse you. And if you put up your hand and say, Swamiji, I want more, I will not turn you away. And you want more? Come on, cello. And I'll take you to India if you want. I'll invite you to a retreat if you want. You have to tell me. I'm trying to inspire the desire for you to know. But that's your business. You have to say, actually, I am interested. Then fine. If you're not, fine.
It's been such a pleasure talking to you. Thank you so much. Namaste.
Pranam. Thank you.